Let me just talk and be real with you guys for a second. If you don't care, then by all means, please skip ahead to where I get into what this guy has done at whatever time is on the screen. But I just wanted to say a few things before I get started here. I don't consider myself a ranter. If you've been following me for a while, you may have noticed that all of my legitimate rant videos are gone. Birdie, Sav, hell, even Sleepy if you've been here for a long time. And people generally don't associate me with ranters anymore and instead call me an Art and OC channel, which I highly appreciate and want to be classed as. However, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't know that someday I was going to have to make this video, no matter how badly I wanted to not be associated with ranters and how much I despised rants and making rants and callouts. The reason why I'm making this is because this is something the general public needs to be aware about. This guy has a record of incredibly shady stuff that recently has gone way past what myself and others had anticipated. And if this video only protects or raises awareness to one person, then this will have been a video worth making. I'm also not monetizing this video, as making money off of a video like this makes me feel wrong and gross. I think that's about all that I wanted to say, so let's just get started. In the past few days, a couple of people have come forth telling me and others about their experiences with SpoctorTheory, who we've decided to keep anonymous. There was one who came forth talking about how Spoctor had developed feelings for them, sent them nudes, said gross things, literally told them that their boyfriend didn't have to know when they mentioned that they've been in a relationship themselves since November, and more. Keep in mind that this person is a very young teenager. No matter how old they are, it still wouldn't make anything Spoctor did to them right. They didn't want the attention, and they most certainly weren't giving him an invitation to say and do the things that he did. They never consented to anything, and that still matters no matter how old you are. This also counts as sexual child abuse. Non-contact abuse involves non-touching activities, such as grooming, exploitation, persuading children to perform sexual acts over the internet, and flashing. It includes encouraging a child to watch or hear sexual acts, not taking proper measures to prevent a child from being exposed to sexual activities by others, meeting a child following sexual grooming with the intent of abusing them, online abuse including making, viewing, or distributing child abuse images, allowing someone else to make, view, or distribute child abuse images, showing pornography to a child, sexually exploiting a child for money, power, or status, child exploitation. So, he is also a child exploiter. This isn't the first time that this has happened either. There are 5 other accounts of people coming forward to us with evidence that Spoctor did the same stuff to them. I just thought that I should go ahead and put out there that this isn't the first time that he's partook in sexual misconduct. He dated someone before, doing the same stuff he did to the aforementioned person. Always said gross things, kept begging one of their friends to draw not safe for work of their OCs, even after the 13-year-old artist said they were uncomfortable with it, and just kept saying and doing gross things, as you can see from these screenshots. We got in contact with his ex, who had this to say. He was always constantly sexual towards me, and when I told him I was uncomfortable, he'd just go, "But dating me will get you used to it." Then when my 13-year-old friend was venting, he just turned and said, "Go touch yourself" or something. And then to my other 13-year-old friend, he kept pushing her to draw not safe for work of us too, even though she said she was uncomfortable and didn't want to several times. And when she finally gave in, he kept DMing me really weird stuff even when he said he wouldn't. He kept constantly going up to me and my friends and be like, "What's it feel like to be with a rancher like this? And how does it feel to be with someone 10 times more popular than you?" When we met, I had they, them on my page, and not once did he call me by them when we dated. Instead of just correcting himself, he'd refer to me as it. So, as you can see, he's a gross, arrogant asshole who's also transphobic and has a record of doing this stuff. He has this whole facade going on to make people think he's older. Voice changer, big adult lizard man talk sprite. He's never stated his age anywhere, aside from to his friends, and yet no one questioned him for anything. Questioned him for what exactly? How he constantly endorsed not safe for work images of his OC. He literally held a contest where the entire premise was to draw seductive drawings of his OC. No one questioned anything. We'll get more into that later. And before we go on, let it be clear that I don't think using private screenshots in a callout is okay if you're trying to make the person look bad. However, this is a serious issue that has happened way more than once. This isn't just some petty friend drama or some kids arguing with each other. This is someone who's preying on people and using his sub count to intimidate others. I'm also not going to just sit here and make claims with no evidence either. It is non-contact sexual abuse that people need to be aware of. But back on the topic of not safe for work, he endorses not safe for work drawings of his OC all of the time. All of the time. He posted a DeviantArt status update to all his underage followers, linking his Fur Affinity page, stating that that was the place to send in your not safe for work drawings of his OC. He even also stated it in his Rick and Morty furry video. Point is, he did all of this without ever mentioning his age. And what surprises me is how no one ever asked. He's jeopardized a ton of artists by not telling them. They were distributing porn to a minor, which is illegal. Plus, he still isn't 18. He isn't an adult anyway, so he has no right to be asking for this stuff, especially when most, if not the majority of his audience, are underage minors. So what have we covered so far? Well, he's legally a sexual predator, a child exploiter, transphobic, sent nudes and said gross things to women and other non-consenting people, held contests for people to draw literal porn of his OC, and on top of that endorsed the shit out of those drawings without ever mentioning his age. I don't see how anyone can defend this. I can understand people defending Birdie. I mean, I don't agree with it, but she is just a child who was too immature to know any better or know what she was getting herself into. Spoctor, on the other hand, I just can't defend him, and I don't know or foresee anyone who can or will after all of this, and I'm not even halfway done with my points yet. So let's just go over the rest of these points one by one. He doesn't watch the videos made about him, and I guarantee that he isn't going to watch this or anyone's videos. He's just going to take a hiatus for a week and ignore it and come back and act like nothing happened, which is what he always does. For someone who expects people to take his criticism, he sure doesn't practice what he preaches. He doesn't pay his artists for his sprites. He was bragging on DeviantArt a few months ago about being the only person in the community to pay for his assets, when he never paid his artist who was literally only working for exposure, which we all know isn't a legitimate payment if you've seen any of my other videos. He legitimately moaned for money on stream and got mad when people took him seriously. He posted, "I'm not moaning for money anymore" on DeviantArt one time, and I got hella confused over what that meant, so I asked him and he admitted that he begged for donations on streams. What does this money go towards? A fursuit that he also tried to beg to get for free. And let me tell you, as an experienced and basically professional cosplayer myself, I know how hard it is to make outfits, let alone huge entire fursuits. It takes hundreds and hundreds of dollars in effort and work and time to make them, and they aren't things you can make for free. I'm not a fursuiter, but I do know from experience that costumes are never cheap or easy to make. Expecting one for free and top-notch quality is not ideal. Speaking of fursuits, he gives furries a bad name in general. He's literally what the community despises. Sexual predators and people who think that since they're pretending to be a lizard, they can get away with stuff like that just because they aren't part of the social norm. The furry community isn't centered around that and forcefully pushes people like him out of their community. He's also a hypocrite, believe it or not. He said a while ago that he was done with rant videos and videos that he always makes, and when the Toxikai shit happened, he made a video about it a day after the drama occurred in the same format that he always used. He also endorses tracing, but got mad when someone traced a fan artist's work and sent it to him on Twitter. He also sends his subscribers to attack people. What you see here is a link to a status update where he calls out an art thief and uses the phrase intimidate to get the artist to back off. I know that art thieves suck, but really man, just report the repost and move on. Sending people out after art thieves are only exposing them to more people whom they can then steal more art from. So what do we know now? He's a sexual offender, a transphobe, a child exploiter, begs for free not safe for work art of his OC, and heavily endorses it without ever disclosing the fact that he's a minor, held a contest for people to draw not safe for work art of his OC, begged for a free fursuit, gives furries in general a bad name, moaned for money on a live stream, is a hypocrite, sends his subscribers to attack people, ignores any and all videos made about him, and doesn't pay his artist. There's probably so much more that I'm missing, and we also aren't even done with this video yet. Still don't know how people will be able to defend any of this, and the "he's just a child" excuse doesn't justify it. He's 17, he knows what he's doing, he's gonna be an adult next year. Adult or not, it doesn't excuse all that he's said and done, I hate to break it to you. I'm sure that everyone is wondering by now what my experience with Spoctor has been like. All I can say is that we hardly ever spoke and only got together to discuss small, mediocre YouTube things. I mean, one time he called my server at the time self-righteous, and also told me on another occasion that I didn't know how YouTube worked. He also apparently had a crush on me too, according to one of our sources, even though it was just randomly stated out of nowhere. And shit-talked me for having different video styles, but for me, I don't think that any of that stuff is as incriminating as what he's done to other people. Doesn't mean that what he said to or about me was justified, but a few petty insults didn't bother me and weren't enough for me to think that he was a bad person until I was told about all of the sexual harassment and more, which is what led to me and others to make these videos. As I stated at the beginning of this video, we all knew that someday we'd have to make this. He's someone who's so arrogant and thinks he's so untouchable, and yet everyone knew that he was going to slip up and that we'd all have to cover it. I also hate making rants in general, and callouts. And as soon as I actually started to get out of the community, I get pulled back in for a video like this, but this is a video that I was willing to make and a risk that I'm willing to take. People need to be aware of what he's been doing. I think that callouts are justifiable if the person you're calling out is a legitimate threat to others, which Spoctor is. And if I'm called a ranter again over a PSA, but this video still saves or spreads awareness to at least one person, then this will have been a video worth making and a video worth taking that risk for. So, beware of Spoctor. Beware that he's a sexual predator, a transphobe, a sexual harasser, a child exploiter, and doesn't pay people for the assets they make for him to use for his videos.